This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. I'm delighted to be joined today by Eddie Hearn. We're here at the Dillian Whyte Joseph Parker final press conference in London. How are you, Eddie? Nice to see you.
Very well. Hot, isn't it? You know? Seems like we're the only country where aircon just doesn't really seem to... You know, like if you're in Vegas and you go, it's 110 degrees, you go inside and you're ice cold, aren't you? Anyway.
I've never actually been to Vegas, so I wouldn't know.
When you go, you know that the rooms will be cold. So...
You've got to put some fights on for me to go there.
I will do. November 17 we'll be in Vegas. See you there.
So, what do we see here today? Dillian Whyte, Joseph Parker final press conference. Seems to me like this has been somewhat of a quieter build-up than we're usually accustomed to seeing with Dillian Whyte. What do you make of that? Anything?
I think he's just chilled a little bit more in his sort of old age, if you like. I think he understands the game a little bit better now and thinks, why would I want to jump up and down and exert energy when I've got the fight of my life on Saturday night? So... you know, he's ready to go. It's a brilliant fight. I don't know which way it's going to go, and I've been interested to be around Parker this week. It just seems to be a different kind of mentality. I think maybe against Joshua it was sometimes a case of he was happy to be there, you know? And did he really believe he could win? I don't know, but I think maybe the occasion just passed him by, if that makes sense. Now he's talking like he's a hungry challenger, rather than this world champ who comes from New Zealand, who when he goes home everyone pats him on the back. I think he's had criticism. You know, he's obviously lost his world title, and I think he's hungry to get it back. And that could make for a great fight. If he comes to fight on Saturday night, you are going to get an unbelievable fight. And I think Dillian has to make him come to fight, because as much as Dillian's improved technically, I don't think he's technically as good as Joseph Parker. So he has to bring the fight to Joseph Parker, and if he does, these two are gonna get to it. It's going to be something to watch.
Now, when this fight was initially announced, there was no official tag, no official belts attached to it. I think general consensus was that there was a chance of it being a WBO final eliminator. That didn't happen. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we made it for the WBC Silver, which was a defence of Dillian Whyte's title. Obviously, you have a situation where Dillian Whyte is number 2 in the WBO and Povetkin is number 1. So Povetkin's out because he's fighting for the WBA, but Parker's number 5, I think. So final eliminator status wasn't going to work. What I think the winner of this fight will be is WBO number 1. I think that'll be unquestionable. And if Dillian Whyte wins this fight, then he's WBO number 1 and WBC number 1, and probably right there for a shot at any of the belts against Joshua or Wilder. So there's a lot on the line. I think this is more people's eliminator, but everyone knows, a bit cheesy that was, wasn't it? But everyone knows that I think this is the biggest fight in the division outside of the world heavyweight fights, you know? When you look at the guys that are underneath Joshua and Wilder, it's Povetkin, Whyte, Parker, probably Fury, maybe Ortiz, and they're not fighting each other because they're all waiting. And what's refreshing about this is they've both gone, I love that fight, let's do it. And I think that's great for boxing.
Something I spoke to David Higgins about the last time you guys did a negotiation was very protracted, reminded me of some other negotiations you've had recently. This one came together very quickly. Why is that? Do you think it's because Joseph Parker doesn't have a belt? Is it coming off the back of a loss? Why was that?
The first fight, you know, away from the bravado of me and Higgins, we get on very well. He's a good lateral thinker. He represents the best, or attempts to get the best for his client every time. And it was just because the Joshua Parker fight was huge. Both had belts. It was a unification fight. So it's just harder to make in that respect. They fancied this fight big time because they accepted it very quickly. Like literally, we were fighting Pulev, he was going to fight Jennings. And I said to Dillian, what about Parker? And he went, I'll fight Parker. And then I phoned Dave and he went, yeah, we'll fight Whyte. So within 48 hours, and what that tells you is both sides are hugely confident going into this fight. So it's refreshing when it happens that way, and you know, we can't wait for Saturday.
By his own admission, Joseph Parker didn't really put in the best performance of his career against Anthony Joshua. Do you feel like his stock plummeted at all after that fight?
No, certainly not, because when you're in a fight of that magnitude, in a unification fight, your stock doesn't really plummet. I think people say it was a disappointing performance. I think you're not giving enough credit to Anthony Joshua. You know, it's very easy for us to sit there and go, oh, he should have done that, he should have done this. So ultimately, he couldn't do it against Anthony Joshua. They feel like Dillian Whyte is a level below Anthony Joshua, and they're going to punish him on Saturday. So if they have that mentality, we're going to get an excellent fight.
A lot of the talk inevitably has been about Joshua Wilder. Something that's been spoken about for a while is if the Wilder fight cannot be made, then the winner of this fight potentially becomes an alternative for the April the 13th card at Wembley. If Dillian Whyte wins this fight, is that the fight you'll be looking to make?
Absolutely. I think if Dillian Whyte wins this fight, then I think that this is a situation where if Wilder doesn't want the fight, Dillian is absolutely front runner for April the 13th at Wembley. Parker's got work to do. He lost clearly to Joshua, but he's 26. There's a long time left in the sport. If he's hovering around at this level, winning big fights like this, he's going to get his shot too at some point.
And just finally, Eddie, this card has attracted a lot of criticism for the undercard. Several fights that were initially on the bill: Kell Brook, Sam Eggington with Brandon Cook, who I spoke to the other day.
It's the same fight.
Same fight, sure, but there's been the Joe Joyce fight that was sort of mooted. Fight. That was Joe Joyce versus Nick Webb.
Same fight, replaced. Yeah. So you're talking about one slot. So you're one of these crazy people. I'm glad you mentioned that because I had this on Twitter. There's been 3 pullouts this fight. There hasn't. The Kell Brook fight was called off. We tried to make Nick Webb against Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce didn't want the fight. Then we made Eggington against Cook. And then we ended up and then Sam got injured, and then we made Webb versus Allen. So one fight fell off the card, not 3. They were all the same fight for the same slot. And I didn't see a lot of excitement for Brook against Cook. I'll see a lot more excitement for Allen against Webb. But the early numbers are extremely strong for this pay-per-view. Dillian Whyte did massive numbers last time he boxed against Lucas Brown, and we're going to hit very good numbers on Saturday night. As always, it's up to the customer. It starts at 6 p.m, it finishes at midnight, 6 hours of a great card and a brilliant heavyweight battle. Or you could go down to a pub and spend £100.
I don't drink any, but thanks for the offer anyway. Do I? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, you're not the slenderest of chaps yourself these days.
I'm not, but you do look like you may be homeless as well. So.
No tie today, Eddie. Dress down Thursdays.
And I needed a little pocket square in there.
I hope you're not running yourself too thin these days.
My hair is, but apart from that, it's a lot of work to do.
Okay, just finally, sell it to the fans, Eddie. Those who are on the fence, those who have been criticising this card as not pay-per-view, why should people tune in to watch Dillian Whyte versus Joseph Parker this Saturday at the O2?
Because you're going to get, I feel, the best fight outside of the heavyweights in terms of Wilder and Joshua in the division right now. A fight where both guys have to win to force a shot at the world heavyweight title. Another brilliant heavyweight matchup in Chisora against Takam. We haven't even spoke about that fight. Great heavyweight fight. Dave Allen against Nick Webb. Another great heavyweight fight. The rematch of one of the fights of 2017. Conor Benn against Cedric Paynar. Joshua Buatsi going for his first title. The biggest star in women's boxing, Katie Taylor, defending her 2 world titles against mandatory challenger Kimberly Connor. Frank Buglioni on the card. Fowler taking on unbeaten Irishman as well. What else have I missed? Loads and loads. It's 6 hours of entertainment. You know what to do. Press that red button.